Stop what? Stop stressing. Surely we know how to do that, but the idea is to stop that and start doing what? First part is, this is an educational seminar, okay? I'm not your physio, I'm not your doctor, I'm not your psychologist or counsellor. You need to go and get the help. So if we say stuff and go, oh, that's wonderful, let me do that straight away, it may not be appropriate for you. So I put this lovely disclaimer in there. It may not be tailored, it may not be appropriate. You need to have some wisdom. So wisdom, please, see a healthcare provider. This is an educational seminar. So we're going to start with what is health? It's a basic question, but if you get it right, it helps you be not at the bottom of poor health and sickness and in hospital where I see people, but rather than being in the best of health. Okay, what's it look like? What do you think of that girl there?
Looking good.
She looking good? Yes. So what are you looking at then? There's a physical health, and that's very important, you know, as to our health. Then there's also being able to have a clear mind, being able to have friends, family, connections, and then there's a part that isn't talked about, but the World Health Organization, WHO as they're known, includes spiritual health. It's so important to linking all of our health together if there is a purpose and meaning in life. And so people of all different faiths or backgrounds find that they need that connection to help them. And so we're going to talk about how to be in the best of health rather than running the experiment, which a lot of people do, which is let me not sleep, let me not eat, let me not do any exercise and see, oh, I'm sick. We don't want to do that one. So we're talking about stress. Is there such a thing as healthy stress? Yes? There is. There's also such a thing as unhealthy stress. I put some nice picture faces on the screen. There's the I'm bored. And some people I've met and you go, what did you do today? I sat here. What did you do? Watch the TV. What was on it? I don't remember. And you go, hang on, where is your life? What are you doing with your life? And there's young people, there can be all sorts of people that are so under stress that they're actually somewhat stressed and their body's not working well either. Then there's the next part, which is trying to be where you've got a focus. You've got a goal for that day. There's a purpose for that day. There's a meaning to that day and how you're helping others, and what we call optimum stress. That's the peak performance, the happy, excited, yippee. But then there's a point where you can get too much. And someone goes, can you do that and that and that? And you've got to do this and you've got to fit this in and you've got to fit that in. And so then it becomes where you can become fatigued, where you can become exhausted, where it can become someone talks to you and suddenly go, "Wah!" And you suddenly are yelling at them and you go, oh, I didn't realise. And the other people going, they're stressed, leave them alone. But it can go to the point where it's, as you see the face there, of disease. And a lot of people can run under high amounts of burnout, and especially health professionals like myself. We're trying to help others, and there's people that are carers for others, and they actually burn out because they don't go to the doctor, they don't have their exercise time, they're missing their meals, they're not getting their sleep. And so the point of this is to look at, I know you're a mixed audience, how can we be having goals and meaning and have an optimal stress, not distress, not no stress at all. Yeah? Okay. There was a questionnaire. I've asked Charmaine if you gave an email address to email it out. If you haven't, there were a few copies I left at front desk. So you can actually get a score of how well are you coping with your stress. Okay, hopefully you've done that, or if not, you can see if you can get it, or there may be copies afterwards. Now there's about 20 questions on that, and then there's a scoring sheet I've got computer software that can actually then compute it, but I thought at least you can self-score and come up with a result. And then you get a result which is either positive, which is 55%, which is great. It could be low positive. That's again another 19%. This is when they surveyed 7,000 people in America, and they went, okay, nearly over 2/3 of the population are coping well. But then there are people, and possibly people that have come to this seminar, that are stressed. Could that happen? Or distress, or significant distress, or severe distress. And I've been and done the seminar and done the interactions, and you'll find, and people get a score out of 110 and it's 30. Well, hang on. I knew I was stressed, but I didn't think I was that stressed. And this is the issue. Sometimes when people put a figure on it, a number, then they go, hang on, I do need to get some help here. I'm not coping. I've not coped for a while, but I didn't realise I need to get ways. And so this is what this seminar is. Even if you're, 100, 105, or where you are along that score, I think all of us can improve how we manage stresses. And even if we haven't got one now, people that stress us, or people that need to have some of those strategies. Okay, when do you go to the doctor? I'm stressed. Oh no, you don't say that. I've got a headache. I've got a stomach ache, and I can't sleep. And these are where they say 75% of doctors' visits are because you're under so much stress that you then have an actual symptom or group of symptoms coming there. I've got the flu. I've got the cold. Again, more often when you're under stress. I've got reflux. There's that GORD, as they might say, on tablets. Accidental injuries, they say, is probably not so much an accident. They often have factors that you could see. They've not had their sleep. They've not eaten anything. They're finding kids, they're going to school without breakfast. They haven't drunk anything. And so right through the age groups, there are more and more that are actually having accidents that can be traced back to preventable causes. They say when people make motor vehicle accidents, speeding, they're tired, alcohol, there's preventable causes. And so same in workplace. Dis-ease, I don't know if you realise, it took me a while of reading different books, and they said, we call it, it's Parkinson's disease, to the people I treat and so on, and you go, but it's a dis-ease of the body. It's not at ease. And so the same depression is a sign that the mind is not at ease. I've got stuff that I don't know what to deal with. How do I get that resolved? And then that chronic disease, you can have cancer, heart disease, stroke, asthma. If you come to 30-year-olds and 20-year-olds, I've got no problems. But you can be laying down the foundations of not managing till it suddenly becomes quite major diseases. And we want to see if we can prevent that, or certainly if you have those major diseases, how you can reduce that and manage it better. Worry. None of you worry, do you? You don't worry about worrying? What's happening tomorrow? How are you going to do this? I'm glad you don't. Great audience. They've looked at 1,759 healthy people. These are healthy people, mind you. And they looked for nearly 14 years, how much did they worry? The people that worried the most, what happened to them? Disease. They had the most disease. 154% increase. And there's a difference between concern about things you can do something about, and then worrying about things that may not happen. Like, is there a meteor going to land on us right now? Probably not, but there are people still worry about it. People who are used to that, they can actually flip, their brain gets into a rut of, I'm going to deal with everything that it's an alarm. And then the cortisol response, and they almost live on adrenaline. They live like there's a fight at every moment, almost keeping them going. Okay, let's look at the next slide. This is the Interheart study. So I'm just going to put a little few studies up for you. This is 11,000 people, 52 countries. They've had a heart attack, and they reckon when they traced back that they had 4 factors that led to their heart attack. Do you know what the 4 factors are? Stress at work and at home. That's not a good combination, is it? Financial stress. I have to work. I can't be sick. Otherwise, I don't make the bills. And then obviously a major life event that happened. Whether it be loss of job, whether it be loss of loved one, things that have gone wrong. And so these people end up with a heart attack. Okay, ischemia is a nice fancy word for lack of blood flow. So they actually got people that were with heart disease, and they scored with an EEG, ECG, where they can measure how the heart rhythms go over a day. If anyone's ever had it, it's a Holter monitor. Some people have it for a week, and it measures what's happening with your heart. And they found that when people were frustrated and tense and angry, their heart suddenly didn't have much blood going to it. But when people were happy and laughing and having a joke and relaxing, they had better blood flow. So what do you need to do more of? The frustrations or the happiness? I've got the ABCs because it makes it easier. I can remember things in A, B and C. So A stands for what? Awareness. B stands for? Balance. Good, you're good readers. And C stands for? Control. And so we're going to look at that awareness, then we'll look at what areas, and then we'll look at how controllers or resolving that. So, how do you know if you're stressed? Neck tension?
When something's very confronting.
Confronting, yes.
Sick in the stomach.
Sick in the stomach, great one.
Heart palpitations?
Heart palpitations, great. You got some now, have you? Should I put you up here? Who else? Any other symptoms? Maybe none of you get stressed. Headaches, yes. All right, I've got a comic for you. Look at this one. Are you under a lot of stress lately, or have you always had 6 separate heartbeats? We don't have 6 heartbeats, okay? Just letting you know. So you pretty well got most of the list there. Excessive fatigue is the most common one that people say, I feel tired all the time. I just can't seem to shake it. And you go, well, are you under a lot of stress? Stomach aches. People can actually have stomach ulcers. Appetite changes. I've missed meal. I've missed breakfast, lunch and dinner. Oh, I had so much on. That tightness in your chest. If you measured people's blood pressure, you can see some people, they actually get redder and redder and redder as they get more and more angry. And then things like frequent colds, easily crying, irritable, that burnout, that worry, low productivity or inability to focus, just apathy. Something terrible's happened and they don't even seem to be worried about it. Depressive thoughts or even suicidal thoughts. And so if you just bury your head in the sand, obviously that doesn't help. These are signs that you need, your body's going, hang on, deal with it. Someone's told me a lovely story in the Philippines. There was this car that this person wanted to buy, and it had this light on the dashboard, and it said engine failure. And the guy said, well, I'm not buying that. That car's got a problem with it. And he says, oh no, don't worry, I'll just go there, snip. Light's gone. No more engine failure. You can buy the car now. It works. What do you think? That's how some of us might deal with it. Oh, I don't have that sign anymore. I'll just won't say anything to anyone. So you have a concept of a stress tank or a bucket. You can only handle a finite amount of stress. Is that true? Okay, that's good. We got to that point. So you only got so much that you can manage in one day, in one person, in one life. And there are things that are outside your control that you can't do anything about. What the government does, what your bosses do, COVID. There's some things you cannot change even though you would like to, and so you've got to realise they're outside my control. Okay? There are some people who can handle more stress. Like I've got the CEO of Queensland Health there, and he's going from meeting to meeting and meeting, and it's budgets and people attacking him and so on. You're just going, how can you live all day under intense pressure? But some of them thrive on it. And I don't want to go in that job, but some people have where they're used to, they've learned how to deal with these things, and they don't stress them at the point where you might go, hey, someone's moved my cup. This is a big drama. I can't find my cup and I can't find my keys. This is the end of the world. Can you see the difference? Some of us have a smaller ability to deal with stresses, and some of us have genetically and also learned strategies that allow us to deal with quite large amounts of stresses, ones that would keep others at night. But we can learn strategies to deal with more stresses. And so that's why hopefully you're here. Stresses can lead to an overflow of stress where you filled up your whole tank, and then you've got to go, okay, what can I do with that? And so some people deal with those stresses that are in their control well, and some deal with them maladaptive ways. So things that don't help, like not sleeping, as an example. And then the last bit is that concept is there a let out? I've dealt with enough stress, I need to let that out. And so we'll talk about that relief tap. So there's a nice little sort of way of dealing with stress. Okay, so we've talked about being aware of signs and symptoms. Now we're going to look at what are the factors that those can be grouped in. So question 2 for you is, what groups of factors cause a person to be imbalanced or stressed? People, yes.
Fear.
So yes, fear would go into that. So you know how we talked about physical health, and then there's also, that will be emotional health. Financial is a factor as well. We'll put that under concern. All right, let's go through some of those. So the first one of the sort of 6 to group all those is those health concerns or worries that we go, oh, how do I deal with this? I don't know. And so if you were to group all those symptoms, they usually would be around a person, at work or at home, or around a health issue. Then, like I just had a patient this week, I'm tired all the time. She's had a stroke, and when we're going through it, she struggles to do any activity since the stroke, and so her energy levels were very low. They were 3 out of 20. So you go, well, that's not a good, healthy way to live, and you don't want to exercise if you're feeling so tired, but it is one of the ways, as we'll talk about, to actually build your energy levels. Okay, the next one, you mentioned attitudes, Helen. That satisfying or interesting life makes such an important. Cheerful versus depressed mood. Relaxed versus tense. So these are factors of stress that people will go, it's my muscles, they're tight. Emotional control. There are ways to deal with your emotions better. And so there's a whole branch that we can talk about as emotional intelligence. When someone, throws up fears and guilts and all those things, how do you deal with those issues? So those are the 6 areas. We're going to go through them one by one and see how we can improve them. All right, first one is, has anyone heard of hypochondriacs? Oh, you're one. Oh, no. Now, if you read the internet, you'll find that you've got probably another 50 diseases that you didn't know about. And you can go through some of the symptom checkers and they go, have you got pain in your chest? Yes. Have you got pain in your arm? Yes. Have you got pain in your head? Yes. you've got a heart attack, go to the hospital now. And it's like, hang on, how long have you had that? Like, there's a few more questions that are needed. And there are some, I've got a work colleague, she's had now, I think, 10 COVID tests. Every time that she's had the slightest cough, she's then have another COVID test. And you're like, right, I understand you want to keep everyone safe and that's what's needed. But in the scheme of things, that's on the highest compared to all the other staff that I've got that I work with. And so there is an interest in health that needs to be worked out. Where do you fit on that continuum? There's the other people that are called stoics. Nothing's wrong with me. Never needed to go to the doctor. Yeah, what's wrong with that knee and what's wrong? That's okay. It'll go away. And you've got to go, there's both continuums. They're not a concern, but it's a concern for the spouse or the other family member. And so this is where it's going, there is a need for a healthy understanding of good health. And the more we learn about our health, and I'm glad you're here, the more you'll understand about looking after yourself without having major stresses. A lot of health conditions can be reduced and improved, and you'll hear a bit of that today. Excessive worry isn't helpful, it adds another worry. Also just getting that healthy lifestyle. So I'll talk more, I've got a slide on that. Energy levels. Who realises that stress is actually quite depleting? My daughter this morning did a run, and we said to her, you're going to have good sleep. Oh, but what about this and what? No, you've got to go to bed. It's going to be a big run, and you've got to prepare for the actual stresses that are coming ahead. And so this is the same. Sometimes we know we're going to get into a season that's going to be challenging, or we're in the middle of that season, and you do need to go, I need help, I need to cut some slack, so I make sure I've got enough energy to deal with what I'm dealing with. And so this is where people go, oh, I'm fatigued. But exercise, and people will find the first 5 minutes of exercise, because obviously that's what I help people do all the time, is get people to exercise. I don't want to, I hurt, I've got no time for it. I'm too stressed to do it. And I said, if you did your exercise after the first 5 minutes, even to 10 minutes, if you've done walking and so on, you won't want to stop. You actually get the endorphins kick in, you actually feel so much better. Who has gone when they have been so stressed and gone for a walk, and suddenly the stress that was so stressful and so much an issue suddenly just calms down, and it wasn't the mountain, it was a molehill. And so a lot of the time when we actually start, and that's the hardest bit, is getting that activity, we'll actually find we get physically exhausted, not just mentally and emotionally exhausted. I'll go and play badminton. One of the things I like about badminton, for about an hour and a half, every part of me has been whacked and moved and I'm exhausted. And I think it's good for us to find things that are fun, that give us a physical outlet. Some people might swim, some people might be just on seated bike pedals, some people it's walking, some people it's gardening. There has to be something that you can physically do that will help build those energy levels. And then you'll find, because it seems like an oxymoron. To get energy, I've got to use up my energy. It doesn't seem to be right, but it actually works because it makes your circulation work better. All right, that's a little bit on energy, more to come later. Satisfaction is indicator 3, is are the stresses greater than the satisfactions in your life? You probably all know people, hope you're not them. They go from one fire to the next fire, to the next fire, to the next fire, and life just seems to be always complete stress. There doesn't seem to be, we go, what's your week? Oh, this and that. Did you have any enjoyment? Was there anything good this week? Did you have any fun? Did you laugh? When was the last time you had a belly laugh? It releases endorphins. It's great for us. But we can have financial strain, family pressures, medical problems, time pressures, chronic problems, information overload where there's so many things. I can't make a decision because I've got so many decisions I can have. No goals, lack of satisfaction. And so realising and trying to go, how can I live? Remember that tank? How can I live within my means? All right, let's go to the next topic, which is that cheerful or depressed mood. Okay? There is a season for everything. King Solomon says that. You may have heard, a time to weep, a time to mourn. They even put it to a song. There is time of disappointments, loss of a loved one, broken relationships. That's part of life. There will be. I'm dealing with people who've been in hospital or come home. That's when I see them. And they're going, will I ever walk? They only see the black. They're in the tunnel. There's no light. And you go, actually, people like you do recover. So this is part of getting helpful people. But there's an adjustment. Some people go, well, I've injured my ankle. I want it to be better today. It doesn't work that way. So don't let disappointments dominate your life. King Solomon, this is a quote from the Bible, the book of Proverbs. If you've ever read it, it's wonderful quotes that are written down. It says, being cheerful keeps you, what's that word? Healthy. Who wants to be healthy? I hope so. Got to be cheerful. But I tell you, some people like misery more than cheerfulness. And some people are almost wired at that pessimism, and you've got to realise people who are pessimists can learn strategies to go, okay, the cup is not just half empty. Look, I've got half a cup. Yay! Look, I'm glad some of you are smiling. It is slow death to be gloomy all the time. And so realising when you smile, the world smiles with you. Cry and you cry alone. It's better if we can get onto that side of the equation, is learning how to look at the things and be thankful. Gratitude. Okay, my favourite, tense muscles. Keep physios in business and massage therapists in business. Not that I want actually more business, but we tend to have plenty of it. But it's your body trying to say, so you've got loads and you've got to listen, get some relaxation. And so working out how to deal with that ache and pain that's been there. Oh, it's been there for 2 years now. What happened? Why didn't you go and see someone earlier? I thought it'd just go away. Even if it was 3 months, it didn't go away. Get help. I didn't want to spend any money. Well, you're willing to fix the car up and you're willing to fix the house up and pay for this. What about your own body that you have to live in that's affecting your sleep? And so some of us need to learn that we need money spent on ourselves. We're valuable. Okay, emotional control and stability. When people outburst over insignificant events, that's a sign. You might have seen it and you go, oh, hang on. They're easily upset, angry, making threats, cry easily. All right, now we're going to talk about control. What are some strategies for managing stress? I've given you a few. What do you do about it? Nature's lovely, beautiful. It's just lovely, relaxing, isn't it? Being out there, the green and the blue are actually how our brains are wired. It's relaxing. It's
Listen to relaxing music.
relaxing music is great. Prayer, wonderful way.
How about deep breathing?
Deep breathing. Learning to breathe, yes, from your diaphragm. A lot of people, and you see them. I remember my first day at working as a physio. I was in the car, and it was my new car. It was a second-hand car, I was 20 years old. But I'd realised, I was there at the lights, and I was going, I haven't breathed. I was so on edge, and I hadn't breathed. I was like, Daniel, and I felt so much better straight away. But how many of us we actually are in that point of tension? I'm going to go through how to relax yourself a little bit. All right, let's go through, obviously there's this stress tank sort of size concept here. How stressed you have. This is where people go, okay, what are the stresses in your control? And then some people go, oh, I'm so stressed. I'll take some drugs. I'll have alcohol, I'll blind it out. I'll puff away, and then that only adds another stress. Oh, I'm so tired, shovel in the food. More chocolate, more again. I won't sleep. I won't do any exercise because I'm too stressed for that. And then it doesn't exist. Okay, but there are better ways to deal with our stresses. So I'm glad you didn't mention the maladaptive ways. Let's try and go to how do we increase our tank size, that concept of how do we deal better. And a lot of it is to do with a healthy lifestyle. If you're already in good health, you're better able to deal with it. If you're already at poor health, the person that's already quite sick gets the first cold and flu coming round, don't they? But if you're in full vigour, it's got to be a pretty nasty virus or bacteria. And it's the same, like if we continue to have good healthy habits, we have time to relax, we work out how to deal with our time pressures, and we have that good thinking, not the stinking thinking. Okay, let's have a look at a good lifestyle. Okay, we've talked about some of the maladaptive ways, but getting healthy meals and adequate rest. Now, I want to talk to you about a healthy lifestyle. It's in an acronym that I really like. Some people like New Start. I like this one that's called God's Plan. I'm a Christian by background. I found a lot of the health principles that we talk about all day in and out are all there in the Bible. From the Garden of Eden, there was a garden, it had greenery, and there was a God who loved us, who made us, who gave us air, who gave us exercise, which is gardening, who gave us sunshine, who gave us a time of night and day to rest, not 24 hours of work, gave us water, pure water, said, okay, be temperate, don't eat 10,000 apples, there wasn't any chocolates and all those other things at those time and all the manufactured foods, they were whole foods. It's not the apple that's then turned into a little bit in the muffin and everything else with the cream on top. So it's just trying to go, okay, how do we get our food? And that's what the nutrition is. So if you get that acronym, everyone in the whole planet can access this. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, all of us can exercise, all of us can have water, all of us can have air. And that's what I like about this acronym. It says we all have lifestyle factors that are in our control. All those factors lead to good blood, which then, with you having good circulation, leads to good health. But what happens if you don't have sleep? It starts to unpack it. You don't have good nutrition, or we're getting a lot of the junk foods, or they say excess calories. If you don't get any exercise, we know that there are only 60% of people that are actually getting 30 minutes of exercise. So that means 40% all day long have been stationary. Is that a good way to live? Is that a good way for the circulation to get around? So we need to find outlets to get that good blood and that healthy lifestyle. Let's go on. How do you relax? Do you take a break? When you're working, they actually found that people who had breaks got more done than the people just kept going solid all the time. You need a mental break. You need to get up and have that time. We talked about breathing. Okay, we're going to do what's called progressive relaxation. Have you done this ever before? Okay. If you get your arm muscles, you might need to put your pen or something down. I want you to tighten up your arms as tight as you possibly can. Okay? So I want you to know what tense is like. Ready? Go. That's tense. Now relax. Who likes the tense? Who likes the relaxed? Good. But some of us are in that constant, almost tight, but not fully tight, but not relaxed. All right, try it with your face. Screw your face up. I know I won't look pretty now. Ready? Now relax. Okay? It feels nicer when it's all relaxed, isn't it? But some of us, our face are really tense and we don't realise we're carrying such tension around with us. So that's a way you can do just before you go to bed. Tighten. When you tighten it full, it will relax. It's called contract and relax. It's a principle of your body and your muscles. It's also making sure you've got some relaxation time, some fun time every day. You've got to plan for it or it won't happen. And then there's also this 24-hour, 7-day-a-week pressure. We're getting more and more shops and you can be on the internet and you can do everything almost all day, every day, all through the night. But we're told we should actually have a rest day, a Sabbath day. Once a week to just stop all the other work and actually have time for family, time for other people and volunteer, and time when you can actually have those spiritual times as well. And reading inspirational people and being with people that are inspirational. And that's what the actual word Sabbath means, rest. Okay, dealing with time pressures. Who's heard of work smarter, not harder? Now, how good are you at doing it? Okay, I know that I struggle with this, and this idea of setting priorities, organising your day, making a list. This is what a guy said, how do you get through so much? Someone that's a millionaire and he does so well. And so the millionaire said, okay, I'll give you the advice how I make and get through my day and do everything that I do and make my $1 million. And you pay me what you think it's worth. The millionaire said, here's my advice. Step 1, make a list of all the things you need to do today. Step 2, prioritise the list. What can you do today? And what's the most important to do today? And then step 3, get on and do the list. And the guy started doing what the millionaire suggested to do. And he said, here's millionaire, here's $1,000. Not that the millionaire needed it. That was so valuable. You've saved me thousands of dollars in my time and just procrastination and not doing things as they need to be. And I think it's a good strategy for us all to consider about how do we do what we set out to do. You may have heard of the worst first, get it, the hardest thing, the one you don't want to do, and it's been there, I don't want to deal with that, I don't want to deal with all those things, but if you can get it done, don't you feel better? Oh, that's done, I've been wanting to do it for months. Or sometimes you just need to get started, which is like, okay, let me do something that's quick. And so get on with things, don't be a perfectionist. What about saying no to projects? Do you have to do every single thing? And I've found when people have come to me with 1,000 jobs, I said, I can't do this, I can do that there. By the time you say, okay, I can help you now, oh, I've already done it. Yeah, well, there you go. Sometimes we didn't need to be taking on everyone's troubles. The stinking thinking, okay, who's had where it's got to be done altogether good, or nah. Oh, it's the worst. This is going to be the worst day ever. I know it. I can feel it. Everything's going to go wrong. Why? That person didn't smile at me. They must have something in. They're going to tell the boss, and suddenly you got into this what they call catastrophe, and it's like, okay, hang on. There is lines of thought, and so a lot of people under COVID, when it came to all the negative news, oh, now the work, this won't happen, that won't happen. And it just became a downward spiral for because what you listen to, rather than listening to say, hang on, my body's got an immune system. A lot of people can have coronavirus and it doesn't affect them. They don't even know they've got it. And so there's things that aren't so much talked about that aren't the balance. You're often given the bad news, and so a lot of us need to switch off news, overgeneralise, oh, it always happens to me. Accepting responsibility, oh, it's because me, I didn't do it right. As opposed to the opposite is going, hang on, I'm responsible for what I can do about things. And it's changing the thinking. That's what's called cognitive behavioural therapy. So learning to be realistic. No, I did do a reasonable job. I'm not expected to do the worst. I just tried my best. I had a go. Discovering the facts, being kind to yourself. Talk to someone. Find someone you can trust. Especially if your scores are low, get some help. There are plenty of people who are very willing. In fact, we have a day in Australia, it's called Are You OK Day. It's about striking conversation. Are you okay? And so getting the truth, looking for solutions, getting help. And usually a burden shared is a burden halved. You've heard that one. Don't starve your emotional life. Get some meaningful relationships. There are good people out there. There's church, club, a support group. I've got students that I train and they go, I go down in the pub and they give me a good advice. And I said, so what happens when you're sloshed? Oh, no, they've gone. Well, how much of a friend is that? There are a difference in the quality of friends. You'll realise that. And some people are only friends when they want something from you. Find friends that will be truly friends. And some of the ways is being a friend first. Show yourself friendly is a Bible text. Find someone worse off for you. There's actually quite a lot of them. Help them out. Volunteer. The papers, I'm down the Gold Coast, they've got a list of all the volunteer positions. I know a guy, he's 89, he's a chaplain at Gold Coast Hospital. He's still seeing people. He said, I've had a busy day. I've met up with 20 people today. I've talked to them. I'm going, 20 people, you're 89. You're walking around, you're not using a walking stick, you're not using a walking... Nothing. Then he's going, then I'm going to write my book. Then I'm going to do this. Then I'm sorting out this. Going, he's got no time, but he's keeping himself very active. And so he will live, because he's chosen to do it. And people who've got a purpose and meaning, they do live longer because they keep themselves in good shape because they really need to. Who's heard this one? It's the Serenity Prayer. It says, God grant me the serenity or peace to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And so we often get stuck on trying to change things that we can't. Oh, my husband, my wife, my kids, they're all the problem. Can you change them? You can change most easily yourself. And so that's where we need to go, okay, what can I do that's better? All right, here's a nice cartoon for you. Working here is a lot more fun since we started outsourcing our stress. Have you tried that? You can deal with all the stresses, but it's much nicer if you can go, hang on, I'm going to give that stress away. That's not my problem. Do you know I didn't put the sun up today? I forgot. Did you? There are a lot of things that I don't have any control over, but I'm glad God looked after the sun and the rain and all those different things. And so for the same for us. I've got a few Bible promises. I find these are great. So Jesus was a great healer, as most of you would all know. Thousands of people were all healed. And he said, come to me, I will give you, what's that word? Oh, that's what we need, don't we? My yoke is burdensome. If you learn from him, you're going to have a terrible time. Is that right? Okay, my yoke is easy, my load is light. He had people attacking him all day, every day, people always wanting to get healing from him, people wanting to kill him. In fact, they did. And yet he said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Here's another text. Not one sparrow will fall to the ground without your Father's notice. Therefore do not fear, you are of more value than what? Many sparrows. You've got so much infinite value. Cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. It's just wonderful things that just go, oh, I'm so stressed, let me outsource it. All right, you deal with this. The next step is yours. How do we stop stressing and start living? You've got some action things to take. There had to be at least one thing for you to take home, isn't there? Yes? When you're discomfort, When you've got pain, it's a time to then go, this is a time to make the changes. Not tomorrow. When? Today. Write down something that you're going to do. Whether it be this afternoon, whether it be tomorrow, but I want you to put down something that you will actually action as part of your strategy. It's no point learning information if it doesn't lead to transformation. And get help. Sometimes you don't know where to start. Doctor, counsellor, pastor, there are people who will help you go, where do I start? That's stress profile will help you.